I'd like to welcome everyone here today. This is our meeting of our inland port dated Tuesday, July 25th, 2026. We're going to go ahead and begin. We have two of our board members are online. Our chair, Abby, and Paul Cutler, Representative Paul Cutler. And then we also have with us here Bill Wyatt with the airport, and we also have with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, Jeff. Jeff and I have only worked together for about 10 or 15 years, and I just forgot his last name. So let's go ahead and begin and move through this. We have a lengthy agenda. I know we have a lot of folks here, and I know you've just had a rally, and you probably have a lot of adrenaline moving. We would ask you to please be respectful as we go through this process. We have security if we need it. So I've been in these board meetings several years ago where they were not very respectful, and we're not going to tolerate that. So let's go ahead and move forward. I'd like the motion to approve the minutes for May the 21st, 2026. And I have a motion from Jefferson Moss. And Jeff, I guess I didn't get your mic on. So. Okay.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. And so we have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Happy to second that.
And I have a second by Representative Cutler. No discussions. We'll move forward on that vote. Those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Do I have any nays? The motion is unanimous. Let's move on to the second item on the agenda. We need a presentation of a quarterly budget update. Arlene Gibson, our finance, our CFO and treasurer. Arlene, let's see, 15. There we go. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We've got shared before on the screen here our quarterly financials from March. This is about 3/4 of the way through the year. And so just overall, you can see our total expenditures at that point were about 50% for the organization. We had seen our state property tax differential collection come in from the Northwest Quadrant, as well as the areas of Beaver County and Utah County. And so you can see that that was at 100% at that point. And as far as expenditures, we were on par for most areas. The couple areas that we had some overages related to some legal fees and expenses that I'll talk about a little bit more in my budget presentation. The second document you have before you is the vendor payments, where we provide a year-to-date of payments made to all the vendors. I wanted to highlight maybe just a few of these so you have an understanding of who they are for. There's Feller and Went, and that was for related to a contract dispute settlement. GB 1100 South is for the land leases on 1100 South. Ninigrit Management is our remediation partner for the Northwest Quadrant at Crossroads Port. And that's the 12.5 million through March. And then we also have some expenditures here for SNL IOV. That's the 5th South property leases. And we have payments to the retirement system on behalf of employees and for employer contributions. And then we had the VERC Industrial Regional Public Infrastructure District, which is the Spanish Fork area project that we have the revenue tax sharing agreement with them. Any questions on any of the expenditures?
Does any of the board have any questions to ask of Diana? Or excuse me, Arlene? This may be a I am a co-chair here, but I don't normally conduct, so please bear with me. Any questions? If none, I would like to interject here before we move on to the next item on the agenda. We will hold a public portion of this meeting at approximately 1:50. If you, in order to speak during that portion of the meeting, if you would please fill out a public comment card and hand it to Diana Gardner. She is back there in the back with her hand up. And we'll allow you to speak at that time. We do hold the comments in a reasonable time frame so that we can move forward. So we'd like to hear from everyone that would like to speak, but we do usually cut that off at about 15 minutes. So again, if you want to speak, give her the card and we'll go ahead and move forward with that. Thank you. Now let's go to item number 4 on the agenda, which is a presentation of the fiscal year 2026 amended and 2027 budget hearing. And this is pretty much the reason we are here today, is to hold our budget hearing. So let's go forward with that. And again, our Ariane, that's your deal.
Thank you.
How many names have I called you so far?
I can't count.
All right,
so.
thanks.
It's
I think I got it right this time.
Yes, you, thank
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
Okay, so what I have before you is the budget document. This is actually combining a few things. So if you look at that first column, that is the final fiscal year 25 expenditures for UIPA. And then the second column was the budget that we had approved last June. The fiscal year 26 estimated actuals, because we're still in June, so we don't have those final numbers, but we've projected them and looked at some invoices that are outstanding or that we're expecting. And then we've come to this fourth column, which is the proposed revised budget for fiscal year 26. And the last column is the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. So the two things that you will be approving are in those last two columns, but the other information is there for your reference. Overall, we're looking to update the fiscal year 26 revised budget for revenues. We're just kind of moving. We're not doing any updates. Sorry, I apologize. We're not doing any updates for the revised budget for revenues for the fiscal year. You can see that they kind of align with our estimated actuals. And then for next year, we made some calculations in increasing what we think we'll be receiving in the property tax differential. Interest rates have come down a little bit, so we're looking to reduce that. We're also reducing it in the fiscal year 26 and 27. And then the building lease revenues, we've rented out more of the leased property. And so we have that available, and we're expecting sales tax to come in. And the grant revenue for the Clean Ports grant, as well as the RAISE grant, are going to be wrapping up here. If we go down to our expenditures level, we're looking at relatively the same overall budget that what we had previously approved is going to be increasing. For this year, we had some expenditures for Salt Lake City that we used some of the set-asides that were authorized by the board throughout the year. And so that's why we're proposing to revise the budget to align with those. And then we also had the contract settlement lawsuit that we have on here that wasn't budgeted for. However, we were under in other expenditure categories. So between what we had spent for the previous for the Salt Lake City money, that previous money, as well as what was available for other expenditures, we're looking to increase that. I see maybe a question from Representative Cutler.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ariane, thanks for your work on this. Could you speak to the increase in salary and wages of over $1 million and especially the increase in it looks like there's a significant projected increase in administrative expenses, but then a much lower capital outlay projection. Could you speak to how the things are shifting and why the spending differences?
Yes, so the salaries and wages, we're looking at a relatively similar cost of living adjustment to what the state of Utah is doing for employees. We've done a compensation study recently, and so we feel like we're in pretty good alignment there. We do have a few positions that we're looking to fill and add this next year, so it's really for growth. One of those being position we have open right now for some marketing in the Northwest Quadrant. We also have a finance position out right now to help with some of the additional reporting requirements that came from recent legislation. So the salaries and wages are mainly due to those additional positions. There's some modest increases to the benefits related to those from the retirement system and health insurance system as well. The tax sharing agreements and incentives, those are based off of triggered parcels. A lot of our project areas, we are expecting to receive 2026 tax money during spring of 2027, and they have already maybe have a tax sharing agreement with the local entity or public infrastructure district. There are some incentives in there as well for businesses coming in that are given on a post-performance basis. And so now that those are coming online, we're seeing a higher number of those projected to be paid out this next fiscal year. As far as the general and administrative, yes, we are increasing our outreach efforts in the Northwest Quadrant. And so that goes hand in hand with the staffing. We'll also need some marketing budget and some other things related to business outreach. So that is the bulk of that increase.
Thanks. I think we talked about that last time, the big marketing campaign. And the lower capital outlay, is that, you said we're done with capital expenses, or this is the no more money going to Ninigret for the remediation?
So that's actually a separate budget, the money going to Ninigret. So when we presented the expenditures, that's including the Crossroads Public Infrastructure District, which is where our bond is issued, and we pay for those expenditures to Ninigret. This right here, capital outlay, we had previously budgeted some items, so we're kind of shifting them. We've created this new tax sharing and agreements and incentives line item to better break that out for those type of expenditures and break them out from the grant expenditures as well. So we're kind of shifting to align better with titles that better match what we're using the funds for. Does that help?
Thanks, that's helpful.
Okay. The other document you're going to see in here, and you're not going to approve, is the Crossroads Public Infrastructure District. That one is that one's going to be in their separate public meeting after this, but that's where you'll see those expenditures to Ninigret for the remediation, and then we also have a budget in there for some infrastructure and improvements to the property as well. This third document is the aviation fuel incentive. We're treating it as a fiduciary fund. It's funds that were given to us to incentivize the creation of more aviation fuel here in the state of Utah. And so we're just separately showing the state can get up to $1 million a year. There were only 376,000 this last.
Oh, excuse me.
And that will be, we estimated to be about the same next year to be spent. So I'm going to take that as a signal that everybody's bored of the accounting talk here. Does anybody have any follow-up questions on the budget?
I don't see any questions. Is there any questions online? Paul, did you get your answer satisfied?
Yeah, I think I'm learning more about how this is structured. So I'll have to come up to speed on uh, the PID and how that fits into our budget too at some point.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
That is, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought I was turning off. I had an extra mic on here and I turned off the wrong one. So
You're
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the executive director report. We're now going to turn the time over to Ben Hart to provide the executive director's report. Ben. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. So thank you to the public. Thank you for being with us today. We know that we're in suddenly a rather charged environment. And I'm actually going to take just a second prerogative to just talk about this for a minute or two before we jump to Caitlin's update and also to Stephanie's update. So let me just start off by saying thank you for being here. I don't know if you often feel welcome in public meetings, but I hope you do in our meeting. And I genuinely mean that. I have always felt a strong stewardship that we're doing the public's work and the public needs to be involved in that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for making time and being part of this effort. Let me just start off by saying, for those who really care about the Great Salt Lake, please believe me when I say we do as well. We know the important asset and resource that the Great Salt Lake is to our communities, to our livelihood, to our health and well-being. The Great Salt Lake is a very, very important lake. And it's a very, very important sensitive land area, not only in the state of Utah, but across the Western United States. So much so, last month, our board put aside $2.5 million, which complements a prior $5 million. So we're about $7.5 million to the protection of wetlands and the Great Salt Lake. So we're in the process of working with the Department of Natural Resources to ensure that that money goes towards land purchases that help to protect the Great Salt Lake. In addition, and we just heard about this a little bit, we've spent a lot of money, tens of millions, and we'll spend upwards probably of about 200 million-ish on an environmental landfill that was actually leaching leachate. It was migrating towards the Great Salt Lake. The port has bought that and is in the process of cleaning it up. And I want to thank Gary McEntee, who's here with Nenegrit. He has done an amazing job, is working hand in glove with DEQ. I was talking with DEQ again this morning to make sure that we're doing it the right way so that this environmental issue is fully cleaned up, does not harm the lake or our ecosystems, and ensures that it's put back into the market in a way that is hopefully sustainable over time. In addition to that, the port has also been part of an application with the Department of Environmental Quality. Michelle Bonin is here on our staff. It's called the Clean Ports Program. It was $112 million that focuses on clean emissions around the Union Pacific Station in the Northwest Quadrant. If that sounds like a lot of money, it is. It's the largest environmental grant received in the state of Utah's history. So we've been at the tip of the spear, ensuring that we are part of the solution when it comes to clean emissions. So thank you, Michelle and Alicia, for spearheading that. I'll also note that we've been involved in building other facilities, rail facilities in Iron County, Tooele, and other places that are helping to take trucks off the road that are coming into the Northwest Quadrant. Just in Tooele County alone, the facility is estimated to take about 5,000 trucks off the road every year. That's a lot of emissions out of the air. And ultimately, I think that's a better livelihood for not only the Great Salt Lake emissions, pollutants, but also those in the Northwest Quadrant as well. We're also working with Delta Cargo, BN, to ensure that we've got really efficient cargo delivery flow here in the state of Utah. We're not there. We've been very truck dependent in our state's history. We have to become more advanced when it comes to cargo flow here in the state of Utah. I'll note that our primary role at the Utah Inland Port Authority is how do we level up the state's transportation network? We hope we're doing a good job with that. Our job also is to strengthen regional economies. So where do data centers fit into that lane? They don't. So the port's influence on data centers is very muted and defined. During this last legislative session, there was passed House Bill 507. Ultimately, this came out of the legislature. It was signed by the governor, and it gives us our marching orders related to data centers and large load energy users. So with that, it prescribes what we can and cannot do. And Jeff's organization at GoEd is going to have a significant role in this in the future with with the regionally significant development zones that are created in 507. But what we are not doing, we are not incentivizing any data centers to come to our project areas. Will not happen. Our board has already made a decision. They will not incentivize data centers. We know in some of our project area plan and budgets, it does say data centers. We have been willing to allow our communities to put that in where they feel is necessary. However, it is the position of this board that they are not going to incentivize data centers. We are also not actively recruiting any data centers to our project areas. We are also respecting all moratoriums across the state of Utah. Several of those impact our project areas, most notably in Tooele and Iron County. We are respecting anybody who has a moratorium on data centers, meaning everything's paused. We're not moving anything forward. Let me also say that we also do not approve or deny any data centers or any use in any of our project areas. We are separate, distinct, and unique that way. We do not have land use authority. We don't have permitting authority. We do not have the ability to either approve or deny a data center. All of that rests with the local jurisdictions. So we just want to make sure as we're moving forward that we're very clear in terms of what our role is, where we're involved, and ultimately how we're not involved. And again, our role is very prescribed. It is in HB 507. So if you've not read that bill, I would invite you to go back and look through it just so you understand and can kind of see the state's official position related to large load data centers and to other like facilities. So I just want to make sure that we're very clear. We're on the record as we move forward. The Utah Inland Port Authority was not created to bring data centers to the state of Utah. That's not our purpose. We are here to level up the state's transportation network. We are here to strengthen regional economies. We are laser focused on that purpose, and we're not going to be distracted by significant and important conversations, but in conversations that perhaps aren't in our lane. So we will continue to focus on what our objectives and our scopes are as given to us by the state legislature. The other thing that I will just mention in conclusion, before we go to, I think Caitlin's up first, or Stephanie's up first, whoever's on the agenda first. We currently have open our policy related to not only sensitive lands, but to all natural resources. At our last meeting, we described what this is. This is a chance, and I would invite and beg the public to please come in and be involved in this process. We're trying to shape what the port is doing and how we're supporting development around the Great Salt Lake. If you want your voice heard, if you want to change the port's policy related to how we're developing anywhere near the Great Salt Lake, that includes dark sky. We've been working with the Audubon Society to come up with language that we feel like is appropriate. That also includes water-wise development and how we're developing with water resources around the Great Salt Lake. That is an open process. Please take the time to go read that document and give us feedback for how you would like to see us develop around the Great Salt Lake. We're asking the question right now. Please give us some answers. Please help us. We're smart, but we're not as smart as all of you. You bring really good knowledge and understanding to the table. So with that, we'll go ahead to the rest of the executive director's report, which is Caitlin and Stephanie. And we'll go ahead, whoever's first on the agenda. So it's BP 17. It's currently on our website. And I would invite you to go. It's posted there. Caitlin can give you more information on that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Director. We will now move on to the next portion of the meeting. And so, Caitlin, I believe this is yours.
Turn this on.
That should be on you. Sometimes those mics, you have to pull them in very close.
Can you hear me now?
There
Okay.
you go.
Good afternoon, board. I will be pretty quick here, but I wanted to give a quick update on the Northwest Quadrant marketing campaign that you've probably heard a little bit about. I think before I go into anything, and Larry, I'll have you advance the next slide. Sorry, my Zoom isn't letting me share my screen. Got a Mac. Before I jump into the campaign itself, I just think it's really important to highlight the timing for this and where we're at with things right now. I don't think the timing could be any better for us to start really more aggressively recruiting for the right businesses for this project area, given everything that we've done in the past couple years. You can kind of see a list of a few of those things, including bringing on a second Class 1 railroad, which has just been huge for our community out there in the Northwest Quadrant, laying down some new shorter line tracks, expanding air capacity. And another important piece of this is really that building out relationships with our West Side community, our EPA grant, ensuring that what we're doing is good for our air quality, protecting our wetlands, and just making sure that we're dialed in with Salt Lake City and our key stakeholders. All right, so the actual marketing campaign. So where we're at right now, just kind of a status update. Oh, sorry, next slide, Larry. Thank you. And then I'll actually have you go to the next one. And I'll make sure this gets shared with everybody. So before we want to aggressively launch a campaign for the Northwest Quadrant, which will probably take place sometime in the fall, we've been doing a lot of work to make sure that we are, one, targeting the right industries, and two, making sure that we've got really good stakeholder engagement. It's my belief that a good campaign really utilizes, especially with what we're trying to do here, really utilizes our key assets that we already have in place, which includes businesses, brokers, developers, and really understanding our strengths and weaknesses over on the West Side. So we've had some really good conversations. We've started diving into some market research, and then we're currently partnering with an advertising agency to help us with a rebrand for the Northwest Quadrant. So does NWQ resonate, or do we need a different name? We're kind of leaning towards a different name for marketing this area, maybe something with the word Salt Lake, since that has international recognition. But we're going to kind of lean into that relationship with the advertising agency to help guide us through that experience. Let's see, let's go ahead and advance to the next slide. Some of the key messages that have come out, and it's been fun doing these interviews because I think it really just solidifies what we all kind of already know are our key assets over on the west side of Salt Lake City. The biggest one that we've heard from our stakeholders has been our positioning as far as logistics. Access to airport, highway, and rail has just been huge. And it was really exciting to see our advertising agency, who's based out of Arizona, come out and visit, because they were kind of stunned at the level of accessibility you would get as a business landing in that project area. So one of the things we've been talking about with this campaign is we're not just seeking anybody. It's a privilege to come land in this project area and to have access to these opportunities for your business. And then our usual kind of key features for Utah have definitely stood out. Our business forward environment, competitive tax structures, strong public-private partnerships, our workforce, always nationally recognized, and that Utah's always planning multiple steps ahead in regards to building in a smart way for growth. And then, of course, our quality of life and how we can capture that and really show folks what it means to bring their business to Utah. All right, so next slide. Thanks, Larry. This is just a quick timeline of where we're at and where we are going. So again, right now we've had our advertising agency come out and do a visit and kind of get a lay of the land as they start working on our brand, and then we'll transition to the actual campaign itself. Right now, we're also hiring a marketing manager to really manage those relationships out there and to hopefully build out relationships with site selectors, brokers, communities out on the west side, and to really aggressively kind of manage and run this campaign. We're hopeful that they'll start by the end of July. We're also working towards our staged trip out to Farnborough for that air experience. And so we're hoping to have something to share by then with folks. August, we're looking at officially launching or beginning to build out key assets for the campaign. So by then we hope to have the brand approved and moving forward. And then at this point, we will start working on building out materials, print, digital, all of that fun stuff. And then September through December, we will actually launch a campaign through social. I'll actually go to the next slide in a second here. And then through the next year, we're just going to be aggressively monitoring, continue to run the campaign, and then make adjustments as needed. What's landing, what's not landing, what's working, what's bringing in what we want from this. Larry, next slide. And then I just thought it'd be great to show kind of the elements of what will probably make up this campaign. Again, that's going to be working on the brand and market launch, advertising and publications, narrowing in where we want to have presence, building out those key relationships with site selectors. One of the cool things that we're working on right now too is building out our web page and its associated pages for the Northwest Quadrant to really showcase its assets, and then as well as giving folks the opportunity if they want to input their developments into that site, so that site selectors, whoever, can kind of search through that database and see what properties are available. The other piece of this will be that social and content strategy, continuing to build out intelligence with our West Side communities, and then of course leveraging those wonderful partnerships that we have with GoEd, World Trade Center Utah, 47G, EDC Utah, and other folks, and Salt Lake City as well. So that was my update. Any questions?
Thank you, Stephanie. That was, we're kind of excited to see this moving forward like this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go to, oh, not Stephanie, Caitlin. Man, live, I'm ahead of myself. Stephanie Peck, let's go to her. I am sorry. They ought to leave the chair chairing and the vice chair paying attention, right? Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thank
Hey,
you.
and make sure you put that mic, all of you that are going to talk, we've got a few comment cards here. Pull those mics right down into your mouth almost. That probably needs a little redo, and they're all brand new almost. So go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chair and Board. I'm excited to present today. My name is Stephanie Peck. I manage our project areas in Northern Utah, and today I'm going to be presenting on the West Weber project area. This comes from our annual report. We report on activities in the project area boundaries every year, and we are anticipating a report out in a public meeting to the commission in the next few weeks. As you may recall, this is a 9,000 acre project area that we've identified in Western Weber County. This area is all privately owned property that is zoned for industrial according to the county's master plan. We really utilize that master plan as our guiding document for the development of this area. We anticipate that they will be reopening that master plan for updates next year. But for now, we are working on that guiding document as a way for us to make sure that we're doing community-based development in this area. We are just celebrating our second anniversary with our partnership with Weber County in this area. This last year, we saw some really exciting momentum. We have invested almost $10 million to seed the funding of the critical regional infrastructure in this area. 5 million of that was from an AIB loan that was requested by a developer in this area. That matches $5 million of ARPA funding that was granted to the county to build a massive 6 million gallon sewer lift station, one of the largest works of infrastructure in that region's history. And we're really happy to have kicked off that build out this year. We also just closed a $25 million special assessment bond through that same development. That is going to really kickstart with earnest the remaining infrastructure projects that are going to begin that snowball effect of what this area needs. We anticipate that in the next 30 years that this area will be a large residential hub, as well as a job center for Weber County and the region. And so this infrastructure that we're laying down now is going to have generational impact. The Promontory Commerce Center really is that phase one of our development. It's about 500 acres that is being kicked off right now. We're hopeful that we'll be able to announce the first tenant within this development this year. And we are excited to work with them on that announcement. This is where the bulk of that initial infrastructure investment is headed today. But that investment in infrastructure is not just going to benefit this development, but surrounding developments, both industrial and residential. This shows an effort in collaboration with the Northern Utah Economic Alliance, who has done a tremendous amount of work in marketing this area for potential end users. We worked really closely with the landowners and this marketing entity to really block out where a lot of this growth is going to be. As you'll notice, there's several parts of this development that are unsuitable for development. Regardless of the zoning within this area, there's plenty of property here that is going to be preserved for wetland preservation and perpetuity. And we're working closely with the landowners on those future easements for this land that will be undevelopable. And we anticipate that through our wetland policy that has set aside 3% of the tax differential generated in this project, that we will generate over $10 million to put towards wetlands preservations and protections. Since we are neighboring the shores of the Great Salt Lake, these lands are crucial and sensitive, and we're excited to make a sizable impact in the protection and preservation of these properties. We've had a significant recruitment push within this area. We have 32 active projects that are actively exploring investments in this area. We've had a lot of visits to this site this year. Those visits are really meaningful and impactful in being able to land these types of projects. And so a site visit is a really important key indicator that things are moving in a great direction. And we have 3 really exciting projects that we have in the pipeline in negotiation today. One of them is a steel industrial components manufacturer. One is a plastics manufacturer. We're really excited about these deals and anticipate that they're going to be great employers in this region. We continue to work on our logistics partnerships out in this area, particularly as it comes to rail. We want to see the rail asset out in this area utilized to its highest and best use. That's going to be a really exciting opportunity for us to continue to enhance the efficiency of transportation out in this area, especially early on. You know, those early investments make a huge difference as this area grows. We anticipate that the current West Davis corridor, the legacy highway, will extend further into Weber County in the coming decade. That transportation corridor is going to intersect with our project area in a significant way. But in between now and then, we want to ensure that we're utilizing the efficiencies that of the infrastructure that's already there. We continue our marketing efforts out in this area. As I mentioned, we've made some significant improvements in the infrastructure that we have out in that area, including improvements to the 12th Street. There was a widening of that road completed this year. We've built infrastructure maps and infrastructure financing roadmaps that will help us build out those opportunities. I mentioned a little bit about our commitment to protecting the sensitive lands within and adjacent to our project area. This is still a huge focus for us. We are working on opportunities to operationalize new funds that will be coming in as soon as 2028 for the preservation of these lands. And we're excited about the partnerships we're already creating with the stakeholders that are committed to the protection of the lake. Any questions from the board?
Any questions? Oh, I do have one. Victoria, I believe you're online.
Hi, Senator. Thank you. I just wanted to go back to Caitlin and the comments about the Northwest Quadrant marketing. I'm excited to see this sort of thing. But really what I'm hoping to see is us not just begging people to come here and do business. I think that's how we're getting in trouble with a lot of things like the data centers, where we're acting like we have to beg people to come. I really would like us to set the tone and set the tone for things like how we protect our workers, that we expect economic mobility in jobs that come in, that we expect reasonable, high caliber stewardship over our precious resources. And really, as we're marketing out, like I saw a whole bunch of, us, like what we'll offer them. I'd like to see a marketing forward way of saying, and this is what you'll be invited to do as well. I really think a lot of the things we've accomplished are fantastic, but I think what really is necessary is us setting a tone as well, to just protect our neighbors and the nature around us. So I'm happy to help with that in any way so that it's not overly Pollyanna-ish when I talk about it, but I do think it's necessary, and it's something that my neighbors in the Northwest Quadrant need us to do and take seriously.
Do you have a comment?
Yes, just right before Representative Cutler's, let me just say, Victoria, 100%. We are in alignment. We love social mobility. We love being able to help people climb the economic ladder. That is absolutely going to be part of our conversation. And Victoria, the other thing I'd say, you have my commitment. We're going to loop you in as well. We wanted to do this presentation first, but I'll keep you lock in step as we move throughout this process.
Representative Cutler, do you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a question for Stephanie. Thanks for the great presentation on Weber, on the Weber project. And you mentioned working with a lot of the local land owners. I just wanted to ask, how much has Weber County been involved in this? Is all of this land currently unincorporated Weber County? And are they involved in your efforts?
So we are in very, very close partnership with Weber County. We meet on a weekly basis on this project area. This is their project area. All of this land is in unincorporated county. The county is an active participant in zoning and permitting and providing services to this area in the foreseeable future. They anticipate that at some point, once the growth in this area meets a critical mass, that it will incorporate. Until then, the county is the land use authority that we're partnering with. As I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, we are utilizing their general plan as our guiding document for the development of this area. That includes planning on roadways and infrastructure investments. Their zoning is pretty strict, and they anticipate making some tweaks to that in the next year. But for now, we are in lockstep with the county's desires for this project.
Thank you.
Paul, I can assure you that Weber County has had this project on board for, at least in my knowledge, coming from up that way, I think probably at least 25 or 30 years. Okay. Thank you very much. I think we'll now move on to the next item on the agenda. Mr. Hart.
Yes, I'll cover this item quickly, but hopefully thoroughly. And Representative Cutler, let me also just say to your last question, we actually have an interlocal agreement with Weber County that says we have to come back to their quote unquote economic development committee before we can really do anything with their funds. We've been out talking with a lot of commissioners across the state of Utah. They have wanted a very similar agreement. And so we are very open to that to ensure that, one, not only, which statutorily we have to, not only do all the funds stay in that county, but really we can't do anything unless it is hand in glove with written permission from the community. And so we're fine. That's our mode of operation anyway. But if they want an interlocal agreement saying that, we're totally fine with that. So we may actually have some of those coming forward in the next couple of months. That being said, Let me go ahead and jump into this item. So I praised Gary McEntee with Ninigrit at the beginning of the presentation. This item on the agenda is actually related to that same topic. So when we purchased the landfill, the Utah Inland Port Authority purchased the landfill, we purchased it from the State Institutional Trust Lands Administration. And we did so in a way that honored certain parts of how they were going to move forward. But we also limited our partnership with Gary. So under the SITLA model, it would have actually moved forward with Ninigrit in a different role. That role was the right role. When we bifurcated that, it really harmed what the port is able to do as we work from remediating this property. And if the public has not been out there, I would invite the public to go out. It's just right north of I-80 at about 7200 West. You can see a lot of that trash has been dug up. This is historical trash from the 50s, 60s, 70s. We were expecting, Gary, like 50,000 tires. We ended up with 300,000 tires. We were out there yesterday. So there's a lot of challenges as we're looking to remediate and develop that we did not anticipate. So what this resolution does is it authorizes to right-size this contract, which is where we should have been from the beginning. It allows Ninigrit to play a little bit larger role. It gives them a little bit bigger management fee, and ultimately it opens the door for helping us to not just remediate, but also to work towards putting this property back into development. We feel like as we're able to contain any leachate, all of the trash on site, this is a really good thing for the Northwest Quadrant. Gary has been an indispensable partner. We appreciate all that he's done with DEQ. He has respect not only from DEQ, but around the state of Utah. And so this item before you that you'll have a chance to act on later after the public comment just right sizes that contract. It gives us the right lane and the right partnership with Gary to move forward to make sure we get this remediated and develop the right way.
Thank you. We are almost time for the public, or we are almost at the time for our public hearing. However, we're running a little behind, and I think some people may have questions related to the information that will be presented between now and the public hearing. So let's move forward and see if we can be very efficient in what we do. Let's go to Amy. I believe you're next. Let's see.
Okay. I will be speaking on two policies. For those of you who are joining us, this might be your first board meeting. We bring up our board policies annually for a review and changes and have the board approve them. But we bring them up in two meetings so that we can get public feedback and comments in between the first presentation and the second presentation. For this meeting, we have actually one of the first policies the board ever approved, which is our open and public meetings, as well as BP3, which is communications and media policy. That we reviewed these policies, both the policy owner and I. Right now, we do not have any recommended changes for the board to present today, but we will be bringing these up in the August board meeting for any additions that we may have. Just for the sake of time, I'll answer any questions if the board has it.
Well, our Open Meetings Act policy is basically parallels the state of Utah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it does do the statute, and we can plan on some our annual training probably in our August meeting for the board.
That's thrilling. The public, that's always thrilling. All right, thank you. Now let's move on to, I guess you're next again.
I do. I have the next one. This is a
You've got
clarification.
several here, so just go ahead and work through them.
Perfect. Okay. This one is a modification. Last board meeting, the board approved an incentive to Silvus Technologies, which is part of Motorola Solutions. As we kicked off this incentive agreement, they asked that this incentive be given directly to Motorola Solutions. And so given that change, we wanted to bring it back to the public and have the board authorize this change in incentive. All of the items will remain the same. They're still planning on a 150,000 square foot facility. The rebate will be equivalent to 15% of the differential received by the UIPA for up to 25 years. They'll also have to meet the requirements that Salt Lake has put in place for a corporate stewardship plan. So again, we wanted to put this on the public record, and we will be seeking board approval later on in our agenda.
And then I do have the next item as well. This is more informational. The public, as you've seen, we have put about, I think, 8 of our project area plans and budgets up for a minor modification. And as it relates to the incentives that I just spoke of, the specifically Motorola, we wanted to really clarify and standardize the language in these agreements. Last month, we did half of them and took them through for board approval. And we're doing the same this month with the remaining ones. Really what we're doing is just updating the recruitment sections within the documents that they'll be offered as a post-performance incentive. That's always been the case. And that we wanted to do it as a percentage of what they pay often with their annual assessed property tax, rather than in the past, it was a percentage of what was received. We wanted to also verify and put in this that all incentives must be approved by the UIP board in a public meeting, and that any final discretion for incentive amounts, again, are at the board itself. So those tables within the document have been enhanced along with this clarifying information. If there's any questions from the board, I'm happy to entertain them.
Any questions? Seeing none. I believe you. Oh, Stephanie, I guess. Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. Stephanie, you're next. So I think you have the next 2 items. Why don't you just go ahead and move forward on them? I may stop in between for questions, and if we don't have any, we'll go ahead and just move on. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Really, really briefly, we are going to be presenting to the board today an amendment to a trigger resolution that was passed last year for parcels in Garland, Utah, in conjunction with the Lakeshore Learning Project. This is a 58-acre trigger. And the amendment we're proposing is a movement from a 25-year term to a 26-year term. This became necessary when we triggered that parcel in June of 2025 for the 2025 tax year. That was outside of the required timeline for the county to be able to capture the private property tax liability for that development for year 2025. We have an obligation to in our agreement with Lakeshore to pass along the equivalent of that personal property tax as well. And in partnership with them, we determined that we will be rebating that year of personal property tax that they missed to the end of their term. So that'll be year 26 of the project area. This requires us to extend the life of that project area by a year. That final year will just be remitting their personal property tax liability. And that requires that we amend that trigger resolution. So that'll come up in the board. The next item that I have is in conjunction with this, we will also need to do an incentive agreement amendment for our Lakeshore Mandana incentive agreement. We are extending the life of that agreement, as I mentioned, from 25 years to 26 years to capture that personal property tax that was remitted for year 1. And they will be receiving that personal property tax disbursement only in that 26th year. So this will all be outlined in the amendments of those agreements. We need board action to approve the trigger amendment, the trigger resolution amendment, as well as the incentive agreement amendment. Any questions on those items?
I see none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, I think we're back to you.
All right, this is my last item on the agenda. As we've been reviewing best practices and how we have evolved We wanted to formalize the appointment of a board clerk. We already have, board chairs and vice chairs that are held by official board members appointed through statute. We also have our CFO, Deputy Director Erin Gibson, serving as the board treasurer. And at this time, what we are proposing is Amy Chantilly-Sai to be the official board clerk. This does not change her role. It's a lot of the responsibilities of financial and fiduciary management, segregation of duties, financial preparation. Amy Chantilly-Sai is very well qualified, has been a great addition to our team, holds a CPA. And so we will be putting this up for board resolution for approval as her official board clerk. Any questions on this?
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, let's move on to, I believe the next item is Danny Stewart, Greater Washington Project Area Plan.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and board members. Can you hear me okay?
Little weak, but you speak up a little if you could, Danny.
I will speak up a little bit. Let me know
Thank
if you have any issues. I'm really excited to present to you today the proposal to create a new project area in the southwestern corner of the state. For the past couple of years, the communities in Washington County have been very strategic in looking at the Inland Port Authority and how partnership with the port might help them accomplish their economic development and public infrastructure goals. Washington City has been very involved in this discussion, and their elected officials have determined that the creation of a project area in their community is a good approach to addressing some very important transportation infrastructure needs and to help them with their industrial development goals. We're excited to propose the creation of the Greater Washington project area in Washington City. This new project area will initially include the 320-acre Phase 1 of the Red Waters at Sunrise Valley Industrial Park near the Washington County landfill. This industrial park's first phase has already been platted. Several of the parcels have already been sold, and some of these parcels already have development of industrial projects underway. This property is included in this project area plan and budget, and it's likely that phases 2 and 3 may be amended into this very soon, as there is a dire need for shovel-ready industrial property in this rapidly growing region of the state. The Greater Washington project area directly aligns with the statutory goals and objectives of the Inland Port Authority to be considered as a project area, as are listed here on the screen. There is a need to effectuate a public purpose. There is a public benefit to the proposed development project. It is economically sound and feasible to adopt and carry out this project area plan. And carrying out this project area plan will promote the goals and objectives as stated in statute. Washington City Mayor Cress Staley and members of the City Council have worked very closely with Rusty Hughes, their Economic Development Director, and with myself and other Inland Port Authority team members to begin the creation of this new project area. Joining us today are Washington City Councilman Kurt Ivey and Rusty Hughes, the Economic Development Director, to address the board briefly about the proposed creation of this new project area. Councilman Ivey, Rusty, I'll turn a few minutes over to you briefly if you'd like to speak to this.
Yes, on behalf of Washington City, thank you for considering the Greater Washington project area and for the partnership we have developed with the Utah Inland Port. While Washington City is initiating this effort, we view it as a regional opportunity. The project area creates a framework that can support not only Washington City, but also future collaboration between Utah Inland Port and other communities throughout Washington County. We appreciate the board's willingness to work with local governments to address regional infrastructure needs, support economic development, and create opportunities that benefit the entire region. And again, thank you for your time and consideration today.
And I'd just like to say to the board, thank you for the investment of time and effort from your staff that they've made in not just Washington City, but Washington County. We've had several meetings where they've come and visited us down in Southern Utah here. We have a regional group that got together, and they were there to answer our multiple questions, educate us. We even asked them all the difficult questions. So we really appreciate their professionalism, and it really reflects well on your organization. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Rusty. The creation of this Greater Washington project area will help address the city's pressing need for the development of the Purgatory Road and Bridge project. This is a planned major transportation corridor that will connect the Redwaters at Sunrise Valley Industrial Area and the county landfill to Utah State Road 9 and State Road 7, and take heavy industrial and landfill traffic out of rapidly growing residential areas. This benefits business development in the area and residential development in Washington City, in the county, and in Hurricane City. This has a very regional benefit. The targeted industries for this project area include advanced manufacturing, aerospace and defense, technology, life sciences and health technology manufacturing, outdoor products, equipment manufacturing, corporate headquarters, regional operations and professional services, and other industries that align with the local economic development goals. The creation of the Greater Washington project area aligns with the majority of goals and objectives outlined in the Port Authority's statute, including A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, M, N, O, Q, and R. I'd like to recognize Washington City's leadership and our staff for their incredible support in putting together the project area plan and budget for the Greater Washington project area. I want to express my gratitude to Washington City's elected officials and staff who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to address concerns and identify creative solutions in the process. As demonstrated, you can see that the Greater Washington project area not only exceedingly satisfies the objectives of the Utah Inland Port Authority laid out in statute, but it also aligns perfectly with local and regional goals of Washington City. Speaking for the Inland Port Authority staff, we wholeheartedly endorse the creation of this new project area. Today's presentation does not require any board action, but we'll bring this item back to our next board meeting, scheduled to be held in August in Washington City. Are there any questions from the board?
I see no questions, Danny.
Danny, I just had one.
Excuse me. Whoa, Paul Cutler's there. I don't have.
Sorry to have so many
hand,
questions, but I'm the new
work on
guy. So I was just trying to get oriented to your project area in relation to the St. George Airport. Is it directly north of the airport?
It's almost directly north of that. This map really focuses on that, but this is Highway 7 that comes across to the east here. If you go almost directly south of that, the airport is down here, and there are other industrial areas down near the airport as well. So you see I-15 here. You see most of Washington City is in this area and beyond, and this is the industrial area that's near the landfill. It's not really visible.
Much further north. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have it now.
Yeah, this is exit to Hurricane on Highway 9 that takes you off towards Hurricane to the east there.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
This area is about 10 miles from the St. George Airport.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? If not, we will now go to the public hearing portion and comment portion of the meeting. Before we go to that, I would like to know, is there anyone that wants to comment on the budget? If I'm going to give you first. Well, this is a budget hearing, and if you have comment on the budget, we'd like to have you comment first. By raise of hands, none. Thank you. Oh, please. Just everyone remember, we have 2 minutes. There will be a timer set, and please wrap it up as quickly as you can. We have several comment cards here, and I'd like to hear everyone.
Is this
and not
on?
cut the time short. So go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dita Seed, and I work with the Center for Biological Diversity. And my comment about your budget is general, because what you're doing is incentivizing development in the Great Salt Lake Basin in areas that are severely stressed with regard to water resources. So 2 locations that kind of represent Exhibit A of this problem, the Tooele Valley project area is in an area where the aquifer is connected to Great Salt Lake. There's no water plan for that project area. Tooele Valley residents are looking at water shortages, brackish water, dried up wells. The amount of buffer available for wetlands is swiftly being depleted. So with or without a data center, this is a problem area. Also, I want to say that the developer represented that he has a contract for 200 acres for a data center farm right there on the shores of Great Salt Lake and Tooele. So I don't know what you're talking about, Ben, when you say you're not incentivizing data centers, because he also said that his development writ large would not be happening without Utah Inland Port Authority assistance. And he said that when he was sitting next to Senator Stevenson. In West Weber, the problem is similar. The West Weber Water Conservancy District has told people that there will not be secondary water next year if we have a year as dry as this year. And you all are budgeting development for 9,000 acres plus the little project that the Gardner folks are doing. And what is the plan for water in that area? How are you going to manage that kind of intense industrial development in an area that right now is facing a really severe crisis? So I submit that you look at your budget and realign.
Thank you very much. Van, I'm going to ask you, what we'll do is we're going to bring 2 or 3 people up here at a time if we could. So when one finishes speaking, we would if you'd please head back to your seat, and then Ben will read a name very quickly.
Yep.
That will bring the next person up so that we don't waste a lot of time.
All
Or
right.
our meeting's about 20 minutes over, so thank you.
All right. First, Alan Ernston. Then we'll hear from Sherry Vance, and then we'll hear from Tammy Sarzalahio. Did I get that? You can correct me when you're up here. Great. Alan? All right. We'll go to Sherry.
I'm Sherry Vance.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving us time to speak. I appreciate that. I'm a citizen who cares about Tooele and the Great Salt Lake. And as you can assume, I'm here also talking about that Tooele Valley project that does have a data center at its heart. You mentioned HB 507 limiting UIPA's role in data centers, but it's my understanding that this Tooele project that does contain a data center, a big one, was approved before HB 507 became law. So I'm just trying to work that out. That's kind of a side note though. You asked for public input on how your decisions impact our water, air, and health and the Great Salt Lake, and I appreciate that. So first, water. One of my concerns, biggest concerns, is the reverse osmosis that will be used to clean the brackish water for that data center, which is at the heart of that Tooele project. That will result in reject water, thousands of gallons of it, being released every day into the Tooele aquifer that feeds Gilbert Bay in the Great Salt Lake. And that's incredibly important for our wildlife and the Great Salt Lake. Next, air. The planned power plant is projected to release pollutants into our air, and Tooele County air is already bad. And I just lived through 3 days of what felt like a hellscape of smoke and terrible air quality, and I'm sure you did too. And so I'm concerned about that. And all of that impacts our health, obviously. My final point does relate to subsidies, which Dita Seed mentioned as well, or incentives for the project. My understanding is that there are significant subsidies being provided for this project. And then you stated today that UIPA doesn't provide any subsidies or incentives for data centers. And so I'm a little confused. I do want to assume good intent, and you all seem like great people, but I got to confess, I don't know that I trust you, and that's heartbreaking. But I appreciate your listening to me. Thanks.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Ben.
No, Sherry, it's a great comment. We love meeting with people who have different views. So I'll reach out to you and see if we can get some time. Okay. All right, Tammy, and then Emily, and then Joan Gregory.
Thanks for taking the time to let us air our grievances and give our comments. I'll be quick. Let me get my notes up. Okay. I urge you to reconsider any development near the Great Salt Lake and the wetlands area of Utah. Sorry. Projects such as the one being considered in Tooele are going to destroy the wetlands near the Great Salt Lake and cause further harm to a habitat that cannot handle any more stress. The Great Salt Lake is a host to 8 to 12 million migratory birds from over 330 species each year. But it's not just the birds that will suffer. The Great Salt Lake affects our climate too. Last winter was the driest on record, and it has everything to do with the dwindling lake. As the lake dries up, it is exposing harmful toxins that ultimately end up in the air we breathe as the wind blows even the slightest amount. Everyone in our beloved state will suffer from the lack of water and bad air quality, most especially the residents of Tooele if this project is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Joan Gregory and then Aaron O'Farrell. And I may have said that wrong, sorry.
My name is Joan Gregory. MIDA is clearly in trouble for its role in the Stratus Data Center in Box Elder County. And instead of learning from that lesson, UIPA is enabling data centers throughout the Great Salt Lake Basin where we can least afford them. Really? A massive data center and industrial complex in the Tooele Valley on the shoreline of Great Salt Lake, as close to the lake as you can get? Our tax dollars are subsidizing this, and we, the taxpayers, say no. Considering the state of the lake, what makes you think that the state permit should be granted to let this facility dump concentrated brine directly into Great Salt Lake's wetlands? Where is the water for this project coming from? Do you not know that this water comes from a closed basin declared over appropriated 30 years ago in 1996, and that is already failing nearby communities? How could you have missed this? Could it be that no one in the permitting process has been required to fully answer this question? The people of Box Elder County have already demonstrated that data centers do not belong here in Utah. Yes, unfortunately, we already have many, too many, and for sure, we do not need any more water-sucking data centers in the second driest state in the country. It's time for UIPA to pay attention. Temperatures are rising, our forests are burning, our Great Salt Lake is drying up. Our air, our water, our land, and our natural world and our health are all being destroyed before our lives. UIPA policies are enabling this destruction, and we, the Great Salt Lake community, the people of Tooele, the people of Utah, we say no to more data centers, and we expect UIPA to lead that charge, not enable more destruction. No data centers. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Next, we'll hear from Aaron O'Farrell, then Camille Burt, and then Michael Meekum.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron. I'm a Salt Lake City resident, and I'm here to speak in opposition to the state subsidized data center in Tooele. I'm watching a place I love burn, as I'm sure you all are too. If UIPA subsidizes the Tooele Valley Data Center project, you will quite literally be adding fuel to this fire. The data center will drain the aquifer that draws water from in Tooele. It will return wastewater to critical Great Salt Lake habitat. It will contribute to all of the issues that we see impacting the water, the air, the land, the quality of life for all of us who live here. UIPA purports to be forward-thinking and sustainable, and it's meant to enhance the quality of life of Utahns. The environment, quote unquote, environment is not a separate issue in all of the considerations you make about the projects you oversee. It is the foundation of any work you do, and it is in crisis. Throwing a couple $1 million at environmental mitigation projects while accelerating the rate of extractive development beside our lake is a Band-Aid solution to a much bigger issue that you all are ignoring. I do not see a path forward for sustainability, for generational well-being, for the long-term health of our communities through subsidizing this data project. The people do not want a data center in their community. No amount of marketing or PR will change that. We see right through it. I am coming to you as a local taxpayer saying I do not want my money being spent on UIPA subsidizing the development of this data center. Thank you.
I believe this group held a rally a little earlier. I hope you would have gotten your applause out of your system. This is a public hearing. There's no room. We don't need to clap. We know your point. We understand it. And we sympathize with you in a lot of ways, but let's hold off the applause, okay? Thank you.
Next is Camille Burt, and then Michael Meekum, and then Danielle Knight. Camille Burt. Okay, thank you, Dita. Next, we have Michael Meekum, Danielle Knight, and Steve Erickson.
I consider myself a conservative Republican. I can typically vote Republican. We have seen that the issue of stopping unpopular data centers has been a major bipartisan issue. The majority of Republicans and Democrats are hugely opposed to data centers in our state. We could see that yesterday when Stuart Adams and Trevor Lee were not anonymously voted out of their positions. Stuart Adams is credited for saving Hill Air Force Base. Unfortunately, with his push for data centers, that fraud has unraveled all the good that Stuart Adams has done. Stuart Adams' push for data centers was done without popular consent or a review of environmental impact. I feel that the true definition of being a conservative is to do what we can to stop data centers. Proposed data centers are right-wing extremism that is just as harmful to our society as the left-wing socialist and communist revolution going on in New York City. And just as big a fraud as the daycare center fraud going on in Minnesota, data centers will involve huge amount of taxpayer income, which most voters don't want. Growing up in the 80s, a school teacher told me the definition of fad. Fad means for a day. History will show that data centers and AI are another fad, like the dot-coms that collapsed during the 2009 recession. Also growing up in the 80s, I enjoyed visiting a 1,000-acre farm land owned by my grandfather in Idaho. Even though my grandfather's income was very little, he was considered an Idaho millionaire by owning 1,000 acres. I was very offended to find out that data centers are huge. The proposed data center in Box Elder County would be 40,000 acres.
Thank you very much. Let's go to who's next, Ben?
All right, so we skipped Emily. Emily, my sincere apologies, and then we'll go to and Danielle, come on up. You're fine if you want to stay in co-pilot. Emily, please come up. My apologies for skipping you. Let's go Emily, Danielle, and then Steve Erickson.
If I can get this to stay at my height level. Right. My name is Emily Sarcelejo, and I am a tax-paying citizen of this state. The state of Utah has long struggled with drought, and yet despite the growing pressure caused by climate change, every year significant amounts of water are diverted from the Great Salt Lake. The increasingly lower levels of the lake create less precipitation, resulting in more water being diverted, creating a negative feedback loop that is worsening drought conditions across the entire state. This keystone ecosystem is critically important for both the state's economy as well as maintaining its unique ecosystems. But at this rate, the lake is projected to completely disappear disappear within 5 years. As a result of human actions, the Great Salt Lake has lost 73% of its water and 60% of its surface area since 1850. The presence of the lake affects the local environment, a phenomenon known as lake effect that increases precipitation and snowpack. This is essential for water availability throughout the year, as this mountain snow is the source of 90 to 95% of the state's water supply, and without it, drought conditions will exponentially grow worse. As water levels decrease, more and more lake sediment is exposed, dried out, and exposed to the elements. This resulting dust, which can contain dangerous levels of heavy metals, affects air quality as it is blown about by the wind. This will intensify the burden of disease on the local population as they are exposed to these toxic chemicals. This dust can also accelerate snowmelt as it settles in the mountains, increasing the risk of flooding. The Great Salt Lake is also crucial for migratory birds who depend on it as a stopover during their long journeys along the Pacific Flyway. More than 10 million birds, consisting of almost 350 different species, depend on this habitat and the food that it provides. As this ecosystem deteriorates, populations of these remarkable species will plummet as well. It is imperative to prioritize letting the lake get its fair share of water in order to create a solid foundation of water security in this historically drought-ridden state. Although the Great Salt Lake's condition has continued to grow ever more critical over the years, it's not too late to restore this precious ecosystem to a much more stable and healthy state. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Danielle Knight and then Steve Erickson.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay? My name is Danielle Knight and I am a lifelong resident in the state of Utah. I'm here as well to make a comment on the Tooele County project. I really appreciated your comment, Ben, at the beginning of this meeting. However, what has concerned me is that if I hadn't done my own research before coming to this meeting, I wouldn't be aware of what is actually going on, especially with the Tooele County project. Something that concerned me was brought up in the marketing campaign portion of this meeting. And there was a line on a slide that said, the marketing campaign has a goal to say what people want to hear. As a resident of the state of Utah, I've lived here my whole life. I don't want to hear what you think we want to hear. I want to see action that shows the protection of our lands, especially the Great Salt Lake. I have a child that is here with me. My whole family lives in the state of Utah. This is my home, and I want this land to be protected. Data centers do not protect the land. They cause harm. And I apologize for my emotions, but it makes me very emotional to see the harm that is happening. So please, I urge you to consider us as citizens in your decisions, especially with data centers. This is subsidized by our money, and I do not want my money to be used to cause harm to the public. So I urge you to please consider that. And not just say what we want to hear, but do what will truly benefit the citizens of Utah. Thank you.
My name's, is that on?
There we go. Hang on. There you go.
Yes, my name is Steve Erickson. I live in Salt Lake City. I represent Great Basin Water Network. You may recall that we're the group that led the decades-long successful fight to stop the pumping of groundwater out of the Great Salt Lake groundwater flow system proposed by Southern Nevada Water Authority. I also sit on the West Desert Watershed Council, which I want you to be aware has recommended unanimously that the state fund the Utah Geologic Society, or excuse me, survey, and their partner, the USGS, in an updated study of the Tooele Valley aquifer. It was last studied by the UGS and the USGS 25 years ago. There's been significant growth since that time, of course, as you know. And at the time, that groundwater aquifer was stressed. It was over its water budget, i.e. that there was excessive discharge exceeding the recharge in the valley's aquifer. So we need to have an updated analysis of just how vulnerable that aquifer is and inducing additional development in on the shores of Great Salt Lake and in the wetlands region is counterproductive to that effort to try to understand what the water is doing there, and will simply lead to additional problems with the water availability. Hopefully your board could help us with a request to the governor's office and to the legislature for an appropriation that would meet that need for additional aquifer study in Tooele Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. You know, Steve, you and I go back quite a ways.
Yes, we do, Jerry. In fact, I think I was the first and only opponent of your MITA bills back in 2007.
I'm not the only one.
Well, maybe the most vocal.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. Steve, I think it was even before that, as I think back. Yeah, maybe so.
That's been a minute.
Yeah. Okay. We thank you very much for your comments. That brings us to the end of our public hearing portion of the meeting. We will now move to our next part of the agenda, which will be, we'd like to move forward on those items that we have presented earlier. And we'll start with Ben. Would you please read resolution and the title for the record, and then we would move forward with voting. Ask the board members to make motions and seconds, and remind all of you that we've asked for motions generally in favor of, but certainly that's not the only option. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. For item number 15, resolution, and I'm going to correct this, resolution 2628, adopting fiscal year amended and fiscal year 2027. And the motion is to adopt fiscal year 2026 amended and fiscal year 2027 tentative budget resolution number 2026-28.
I would look for a motion. Oh. There we go.
Thank you. I move that we approve resolution 26-28, adopting FY 2026 amended and FY 2027 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. I would now look for a second on that motion.
I'm happy to second these.
And I think Mr. Cutler, thank you, Representative Cutler. And we would vote on that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Do I have any opposed? None. Thank you. That's unanimous. Let's now move on to the next item, Mr. Hart.
The motion for this item is that the UIPA board approves an annual assessed property tax differential rebate incentive for Motorola Solutions and capital expenses as outlined in the incentive application, specifically limited to their 150,000 square foot facility and related to personal property. This rebate will be equivalent to 15% of the differential received by UIPA for 25 years. This annual rebate is contingent on meeting all incentive requirements, including corporate stewardship plan and the project's continued operation within the Northwest Quadrant project area for the duration of the incentive period.
And I would look for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Moss. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second, Mr. Cutler. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
And that is, any opposed? That is unanimous. We'll move on now, Mr. Hart.
All right, we'll have a few of these. We'll try and move through them. The next item is to approve Resolution 2026-29, a resolution to the Utah Inland Port Authority Board adopting amendments to the Mineral Mountains Inland Port Project Area Plan.
And Mr. Chair,
Have a motion.
I'm happy to make a motion, but before so, I wondered if our good executive director could just reiterate again, when we do these project changes, how are the local governments involved? What is their consent? Do we make the changes first and then they consent to the change? What is the process?
No, Representative, it's a very good point. We never make an amendment to the budget unless it's in consultation and with our local partners. So they have been notified prior to this about these changes. And the concern with these, the way the project area plan and budgets were written previously was it was a percentage of what the port received. So it could look like 90%, but in all actuality, it was only like 50, 60%. So this is probably more of a technical limitation. I also want to note the amount that it's not limited because the board has discretion on this, but typically what we're looking at is 10, 15, 20%. So this is not a lot of the money. And so we work with our local partners to recruit the types of businesses they want there. We consult with them before we bring these to the board.
Thanks. I should have been clear. When we make an amendment and it changes the area, we bring in another parcel or take out another parcel. Is there a local approval, or we just have a consult? We consult with them and then do it.
Mr. Wolford, would you like to answer that?
Scott Wolford, Managing Director of the Business Development Team. We really like to have a public resolution from the communities for every amendment. That's not necessarily required. It is for the first creation. But the overwhelming majority, to a point where near universality, is amendments are at local request. So we're not going back and saying, is this what you want? They are actually telling us, Inland Port Authority Board, we want to change the boundaries of our project area.
And Representative, I'll just add to that, we would never include land unless it is specifically designated either by resolution from the local entity, or if they've asked us, to do it without, then we want very clear written direction and documentation. This is at their request. We would never add without their approval. And yeah, obviously
you.
work with the owners as well. Yeah. Okay, so that resolution or that, oh, go ahead, Paul. Sorry,
yeah, you ready for resolution or approval of resolution 2629? That's the next one, that's right. Amendment 3 to Mineral Mountains project area.
Okay, so I have a motion on 2629. Do I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's move to the next item, Amendment 2, Northwest Quadrant.
All right, resolution. Larry, I think this one's done via resolution. I was going to say, I thought Northwest Quadrant was just a motion. There we go. All right. The proposed motion, the UIPA board approves the second amendment to the Northwest Quadrant project area plan as presented.
All right, that's fairly simple. Do I get a motion on that?
I'll move that.
And Mr. Moss, motion. And do I get a second? And I have a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Thank you. Next.
All right, next is resolution 2026-30, a resolution of the Utah Inland Port Authority Board adopting amendments to the Pony Express Inland Port Project Area Plan.
Again, fairly cut and dried. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Moss.
And I'll second
makes
it.
a motion, and I have a second from Mr. Cutler. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Are there any opposition? And that motion passes unanimous. Let's move to 2026-31.
All right, resolution 2026-31, a resolution of the motion is to adopt a resolution of the Utah Inland Port Authority Board adopting amendments to the Skyline Corridor Inland Port Project Area Plan.
Motion on on Skyline. Do I have one?
Make a motion.
Mr.
I'll
Moss.
second it.
And a second. All in favor of the motion on resolution 2026. 2026-31, say aye.
Aye.
Do I have any opposition? That is unanimous. Let's move to 2026-32.
A resolution of a motion is to adopt resolution 2026-32, a resolution of the Utah Inland Port Authority Board adopting amendments to the Tooele Valley Inland Port Project Area Plan.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And
Mr.
I'll
Moss,
second that.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimous. 2633.
The motion is to adopt resolution 2026-33, a resolution of the Utah Inland Port Authority Board adopting amendments to the 20 Wells Inland Port Project Area Plan.
And do I have a motion on 33?
I'll make that motion.
I have a
I'll second
motion
it.
and a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Move on to 34.
The motion is to adopt a resolution 2026-34, a resolution of the Utah Inland Port Authority Board adopting amendments to the Verk Industrial Park Inland Port Project Area Plan.
A motion on the Verk Industrial Park. Do I have a motion?
I was gonna let Paul take one, or Representative Cutler take one.
This works better given the delay. If you make the motion and I'll second.
I'll just make the motion.
Then I'll
A
second it.
motion. Do I have a second?
Yes.
And a second. Thank you. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's move to 35.
The motion is,
Is that right?
yeah, Larry, we're on 35, 2026. Resolution 2026-35, resolution to the Utah Inland Port Authority Board adopting amendments to the West Weber Inland Port Project Area Plan.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
And I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to adopt the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That is unanimous. And let's go to 36.
The motion is to adopt resolution 2026-36 and amended to trigger resolution for Golden Spike Project Area.
Do I have a motion on that?
I will make that motion.
And I'll second it.
And a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do I have any opposed? That is unanimous. Now let's move on to the amendment that we have to the business incentive for Lakeshore Learning. Larry, can you display the motion?
The motion is the Utah Inland Port Authority Board approves the amendment to the Lakeshore Mandana Incentive Agreement, changing the agreement end date from December 31st, 2049 to December 31st, 2050, and agreement term from 25 years to 26 years.
This is really more just bookkeeping than substance. So, okay. Do I get a motion? Could I have a motion on the, could I have a proposed motion?
I will make that motion.
And I will
do
second.
And I have a second. So with that, that is unanimous. Let's move on to 2026-37.
All right, the motion is to adopt resolution 2026-38, a resolution of the Utah Inland Port Authority Board approving the amended and restated program manager service agreement with NIN Management, LC for remediation and pre-development services for the North Temple landfill property and authorizing the execution and delivery thereof and related documents and instruments.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Oh, wait, do we need a
Wait.
correction?
No.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. Let's move on to 26-38.
I skipped one, Mr. Chair. Can we
Oh.
go back real quick?
Sure.
Resolution, the motion is to adopt resolution 2026-37, a resolution of the Utah Inland Port Authority Board appointing Amy Chantilly as clerk.
There we go. Okay. Do I get a motion on that?
I'll make that motion.
And
second it.
all of you a second?
I'm a second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is unanimous. Let's now move to 38.
That was the one I
Oh,
just jumped to.
Okay, that's
Sorry.
when we jump. Well,
That's all?
gosh, the next instructions I have in front of me say, let's adjourn. I would accept the motion.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.